This time, it's thanks to one of his hidden safes found in his former Miami Beach mansion. Escobar bought this pink oceanside villa in Miami back in 1980 and likely used it as a stash house for cocaine, cash, or weapons.
For years, Escobar's missing billions sounded like cartel folklore. Then farmers and investigators began unearthing cash.
It is the largest cash seizure in Miami-Dade police history, over $24 million.
Weapons and human remains. Proof the stories were real, but the latest discoveries are different. What's coming out of the ground now suggests Escobar hid far more than money. Secrets he never wanted exposed. The origin of the buried billions. How Escobar lost control of his own fortune. The story of Pablo Escobar begins in a place of fear and choking greed. It was a place where money turned into a threat instead of a reward.
Pablo was the CEO. 80% of the cocaine was being sent by Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel.
At the height of his power, Escobar watched his fortune grow so fast that it became a danger to him. The Medellin cartel made hundreds of millions of dollars every week. Warehouse floors drowned in stacks of bills. Houses meant for families became rooms filled with cash. Even cattle farms, created to look innocent, hid mountains of wrapped banknotes. Rats chewed through bundles as if they were food. Damp air rotted paper until entire piles collapsed into foul mush. Some cartel members admitted that 10% of the fortune rotted every year, and they understood this number was real because they saw the destruction with their own eyes.
Once we got Colonel Martinez in place, that's when things started happening. A lot of things were going on.
Escobar understood that this chaos could destroy him. He trusted almost no one. He even doubted the people who counted the money. Escobar began to believe that the only way to protect his fortune was to return it to the ground, as if he were burying pieces of his own life. He chose farmers' fields, remote jungle compounds, and hidden clearings near his airstrips. He used mountain areas that only his men could reach. Some of his most loyal men memorized the locations. Others drew simple maps that they guarded with their lives. Yet the cartel war turned every day into a storm. Men were killed in gunfights. Some vanished during kidnappings. Others were taken by enemies or betrayed by people they once called brothers. Each time one of these men died, another secret place filled with money vanished from memory forever.
This was frightening times for a lot of people, and a lot of policemen were getting killed, sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 the same day.
When Escobar built La Catedral, a prison he designed for himself, he became even more obsessed with controlling every buried bundle. The place looked like a prison, but he ruled it from inside. He sent phone messages, fax messages, and coded notes to track the movement of his cash. Escobar approved new hiding spots from behind the prison walls. Even after he escaped and spent his final months running from a massive manhunt, he continued to bury money every time he moved into another safe house. These last months were filled with confusion and panic. His movements changed day to day. His hiding places became rushed and sloppy. Many of these places were forgotten because no one survived long enough to remember them. When Escobar was finally gunned down by federal agents on December 2nd, 1993, the Colombian government seized his houses and land.
No one expects the death of Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar to put much of a dent in the world cocaine trade.
They took his cars, his planes, and every account they could lay their hands on. Rival cartels raided anything that was not protected. Escobar's family fled and survived with almost nothing. Even after all this stripping and searching, investigators believed that billions had disappeared into the soil. These buried remains became scattered pieces of a fortune that no one could fully understand because it was too large and chaotic. The farmer discoveries. When shovels hit money, bones, and long-buried fear. The first major wave of accidental discoveries of Escobar's treasures did not come from police or treasure hunters. It came from farmers. Across Antioquia, Magdalena, and the remote outskirts of Medellin, peasants working lands their families had farmed for generations began hitting strange objects beneath the soil.
I don't know what it is.
It's that green thing.
Uh-oh. It's, clothing.
One of the most publicized incidents involved Jose Mariana Cartolos, a simple farmer digging irrigation trenches in 2010. His shovel struck blue barrels that were said to hold hundreds of millions of dollars. The story exploded in newspapers and online. Rumors claimed the total value was $600 million. Authorities later dismissed the report as a hoax, but it did not matter. Colombia was gripped by what journalists called a new gold rush. Farmers grabbed shovels as eagerly as they would harvest crops. Digging became a daily obsession, and stories of buried cash spread like wildfire.
Pablo built a fortress inside this city, and we're going to search it for hidden treasure.
But not every discovery was money. In rural Antioquia, one farmer searching for water hit what he thought was a metal drum. When he opened it, he found human bones bound with wire. These were shallow graves from Escobar's bloody wars. Other villagers unearthed weapons wrapped in plastic, rotting ledgers, moldy bundles of bills fused together by moisture, and crates of corroded ammunition. Each find was a chilling reminder that even the quietest villages had been swept up in violence and terror they could never truly forget. The sudden appearances of money and relics destabilized entire communities. Families who found even small stashes of cash began buying cars, livestock, and property. Neighbors grew suspicious, and fear spread quickly. Criminal groups moved in, demanding a share of the wealth. Threats, extortion, and even murders followed, turning once peaceful villages into zones of tension and suspicion. In some regions, old loyalties to Escobar returned. Some locals claimed that the money belonged to the people because Escobar had once helped the poor. Others whispered that disturbing the buried cash would anger his ghost, a superstition surprisingly common among older villagers. These discoveries did more than awaken desire. They reopened old wounds. Communities that had tried to forget the terror and chaos of the 1980s were suddenly forced to relive it. Every unearthing brought a memory of violence, betrayal, and death back to the surface. Underneath the mix of excitement and fear, rumors began to grow. If farmers were uncovering small stashes, larger, untouched fortunes must still be hidden in Escobar's former properties. Those rumors gained weight when someone from Escobar's own family made a discovery that could not be ignored. Family secrets exposed. Pablo's nephew breaks. Open the walls, and the myth. In 2020, the search for Escobar's missing billions took a dramatic turn when Nicolas Escobar, Pablo's nephew, announced that he had uncovered something hidden inside one of the drug lord's old houses in Medellin. Unlike farmers or treasure hunters, Nicolas had grown up inside the shadow of the cartel. He had carried secret messages, moved packages, and followed orders whispered by men who disappeared as quickly as they arrived. When he punched through the plaster of his uncle's abandoned property, the world paid attention. Behind the wall, he found plastic-wrapped bundles of cash. The total was roughly $18 million. Nearby lay a camera, a typewriter once used for cartel communications, satellite phones, and a gold pen. Rolls of undeveloped film suggested that private moments of the cartel, its secrets and crimes, might still be waiting to be seen if time had not destroyed them. But the discovery quickly turned grim. The money was worthless. Years of damp and rot had reduced the notes to mush. They crumbled at the slightest touch. Millions of dollars that once bought power, loyalty, and influence in the 1980s had been swallowed by the very earth meant to protect them. It was a brutal physical reminder that even the largest empires of money could be destroyed by time and neglect.
And he was right near the top of the list. So, right off the bat, you knew that this man was not a millionaire, he was a billionaire.
Even so, Nicolas's find proved something far more important than the state of the cash. Escobar's properties were still hiding secrets. They were not all about money. Former cartel associates had long whispered that some houses contained crawl spaces, false floors, hidden rooms, and double walls. Nicolas had confirmed those rumors. The revelation set off a chain reaction across Medellin. Residents of old cartel neighborhoods demanded that city authorities scan their homes. Construction crews tore down walls and confiscated mansions. Some discoveries were small: rusted pistols, rotting bundles of cash, coded notes. Others hinted at far greater secrets.
Whatever it may be, an easy, large object to navigate to find, and to bury something nearby.
Each new find reminded Colombians that the violence, greed, and danger of Escobar's reign had never fully left the city. Even the Colombian police admitted that many of Escobar's safe houses had never been fully searched during the chaos of the 1990s. Documents were lost, maps were destroyed, and many properties had passed through multiple owners. Each untouched house was a potential time capsule of crime, violence, and unimaginable wealth. Nicolas's discovery reignited interest worldwide. Treasure hunters, journalists, and media crews descended on Medellin. Among them, 2 former DEA agents returned, determined to track down the billions still missing. Their investigations revealed that Escobar's hidden fortunes were far more complicated than simple barrels of cash buried in the ground. Every stash involved secret compartments, traps, and risks that could still be deadly decades later. The dangers of these hunts became clear almost immediately. The narco-terrain of Medellin, once controlled by Escobar, was still treacherous. Some neighborhoods had quietly transformed into lawless zones where rival gangs controlled old cartel properties. Searching for money meant walking into areas where bullets, betrayal, and death were still very real.
He buried money everywhere. But it's believed the police didn't even get half of what Gotcha squirreled away.
And those dangers became painfully clear once the hunters dug deeper into the narco-terrain. The dangerous hunt, booby traps, rival claimants, and the cost of digging too deep. Searching for Escobar's hidden fortune has never been safe. The man who built one of the deadliest empires in history ensured that his buried money was not only hidden, it was protected. Former cartel members have described traps that were designed to kill as much as they were meant to hide cash. Buried grenades, improvised landmines, and other explosive devices were scattered across secret sites.
It felt like something was rolling inside of it.
Rolling inside, like something metal?
Yeah, like metal.
Even decades later, investigators approached suspected stash locations like minefields. One wrong step could set off a device left behind during Escobar's reign of terror. Treasure hunters, both Colombian and foreign, often ignore the risks and enter these dangerous areas illegally.
Well, there might be more shards in there. To me, this looks like a barrel. It's about the thickness I would expect, like a 50-gallon drum.
They bring shovels, metal detectors, and a desperate hope of striking it rich. Some have found money, though often decayed and useless. Others have uncovered live ammunition, rusted rifles, and crates full of grenades that have sat buried and dangerous for decades. A few did not survive. Colombian newspapers have reported deaths caused by accidental detonations while digging in former cartel territories. The human dangers are just as deadly. Modern criminal groups continue to operate in the same regions Escobar once controlled. These groups claim the buried billions as their inheritance. They attack outsiders who dig on their land. Independent treasure hunters have been threatened, beaten, or simply disappeared. Villagers and farmers rarely speak of what they find because of fear. Anyone who shows knowledge of a stash risks being targeted for a share or worse. Even official searches are not immune to resistance. When the Discovery Channel sent former DEA agents Chris Feistel and Jerry Salami to film Finding Escobar's Millions, they encountered entire communities hostile to their presence.
Individuals who are burying money in the ground, gold, emeralds, diamonds, weapons, any other items of value.
Some locals still admired Escobar as a Robin Hood figure who had helped the poor during the height of his reign. Others were terrified of retaliation from active gangs. The agents documented secretive behaviors, blocked roads, and sudden, unexplained shutdowns at search sites. Adding to the danger, many of the search locations overlap with active trafficking routes. Hunters who expect to find cash can stumble into modern drug labs or discover hidden stashes belonging to current criminal organizations. Every expedition combines decades-old hazards with present-day threats, making even a single dig unpredictable and potentially deadly. Despite these risks, discoveries continued. Gold bars, piles of rotted cash, weapon caches, and even human bones occasionally surfaced. Each find was a reminder that Escobar's world was still buried beneath the soil of Colombia. But as the discoveries accumulated, investigators noticed a chilling pattern. Some caches contained far more than just money and guns. That pattern became impossible to ignore when search teams started uncovering Escobar's most unsettling secret. Bones, ledgers, and narco time capsules, the darkest finds beneath Colombian soil. As the earth continued to give up Escobar's secrets, it became clear that his buried fortune was never just about money. It was a record of violence preserved underground. Some of the most disturbing discoveries were pits where barrels of cash rested beside human remains. Victims had been buried next to treasure as a warning. Loyalty brought wealth, betrayal brought death, and sometimes both ended up in the same hole. Every dig revealed that the cartel's power had been built on a foundation of blood as well as cash.
It is finally nice to have a bit of a reward and to see this piece of history right in front of me. It's amazing.
In rural Antioquia, searchers uncovered a mass grave containing skeletons still bound with wire. These were likely cartel enforcers or rivals executed during the height of the Medellin War. Not far from that site, investigators found ledgers sealed in waterproof containers. The books documented bribes, drug shipments, and political payoffs. Names of judges, police commanders, and city officials appeared alongside payments and instructions. Many of these officials had survived Escobar's reign and continued their careers long after his death. The documents confirmed what investigators had long suspected. The cartel's influence had penetrated far deeper into the Colombian state than anyone had admitted publicly. One particularly chilling discovery occurred at Hacienda Nápoles, Escobar's sprawling private zoo and estate, which later became a public park. Workers renovating an old structure unearthed $10 million in decaying bills. Beside the cash lay human bones. Authorities believed the victims had been cartel workers executed for stealing or miscounting money. The close proximity of the bodies to the cash revealed a brutal system of discipline, a reminder that Escobar enforced loyalty with lethal precision. The ledgers were even more dangerous.
On this property, the military found colectas worth tens of millions of dollars.
They were meticulously coded and highly detailed, recording payments to politicians, bribes to law enforcement, and cocaine trafficking routes that spanned continents. Some dated back to the earliest days of Escobar's smuggling operations, while others recorded late-stage attempts to hide wealth abroad. Many of these books never reached prosecutors. Some disappeared after being found. Whether they were stolen, destroyed, or secretly buried again is still unknown. Their absence suggests that the knowledge they contained remains alive and threatening somewhere. These narco time capsules reshaped how people understood Escobar. For years, popular culture and local nostalgia had painted him as a Robin Hood figure who helped the poor.
In the 1980s, Pablo Escobar became the richest drug dealer in history.
The buried evidence, however, stripped away that illusion. Every skeleton, every ledger, and every cache of weapons revealed the ruthless reality behind the empire. The discoveries were so unsettling that many investigators began to ask a chilling question. If this was all that had surfaced, what else remained hidden beneath the soil of Colombia? That question became urgent when two recent finds, previously unknown to the public, suggested that Escobar had hidden something far darker than money, bones, or ledgers. The bunker blueprint. Escobar's secret plan for a national siege. In mid-2024, Colombian authorities quietly investigated a discovery made by construction workers outside Puerto Triunfo, roughly 40 minutes from Hacienda Nápoles. The full details have never been officially released, but multiple sources close to the investigation leaked fragments of information that paint a chilling picture of Escobar's possible long-term ambitions. Beneath an overgrown patch of land, the workers struck reinforced concrete far thicker than any ordinary rural structure would require, and beneath it, they uncovered a partially collapsed underground bunker complex. Inside the ruins, investigators found rusted ventilation systems, decayed fuel drums, and racks that had once held weapons. The most striking element was a sealed metal crate containing architectural blueprints and hand-drawn plans. The documents appeared to map a network of bunkers and fortified safe houses stretching across central Colombia. They were not ordinary escape tunnels. According to the leaked descriptions, these structures seemed designed as war hubs, with stockpiles, weapon stations, communication nodes, and even rooms that might have been intended to hold prisoners. The leaked plans suggest, though it cannot be confirmed, that Escobar may have imagined a scenario in which he faced extradition to the United States and needed to fight back on a national scale. The strategy implied by the documents involved shutting down highways, attacking airports, destroying bridges, and possibly creating autonomous zones under cartel control. If accurate, the bunker network would have served as command centers for a prolonged armed resistance. The scale of the plans hinted that Escobar might not have simply wanted to survive a war with the government, but to outlast it entirely. Among the bunker ruins, investigators also found crates of empty missile tubes. These discoveries align with long-standing rumors from the 1990s that Escobar sought Soviet-era rockets. No functional missiles were recovered, but the tubes alone suggest he may have intended to arm his cartel far beyond what was previously thought possible. Perhaps the most alarming part of the find was a notebook containing sketches of attacks on major Colombian cities. Some of the plans corresponded with violent incidents that occurred during the cartel wars. Others, however, were never carried out and included scenarios that could have caused mass destruction, plunging the country into chaos. While it is impossible to know whether these plans were serious intentions or mere contingencies, the potential for devastation is undeniable. Authorities reportedly sealed off the site and restricted public access, citing ongoing research. The secrecy is understandable. Even as fragments of this discovery emerge, it is clear that Escobar may have envisioned himself not simply as a drug lord, but as a warlord with a private army capable of destabilizing an entire nation. And just as investigators began assessing the implications of this bunker complex, another discovery surfaced that was even more disturbing than the last one. The Hacienda Nápoles vault, evidence of shocking experiments and a biological threat. In late 2024, park workers near the old hippo enclosures at Hacienda Nápoles uncovered a concealed concrete hatch during routine landscaping. Expecting another stash of cash, they immediately notified authorities. What they found beneath the hatch shocked even the most experienced investigators. The chamber below was not filled with money. Instead, it contained equipment that suggested something far more sinister than simple treasure. The underground room held rusted animal cages, old surgical tables, and sealed metal storage units marked with faded biohazard symbols. Chemical containers, now inert, indicated the previous presence of sedatives, disinfectants, and other substances used for handling or experimenting on animals. But the most disturbing discovery was a stack of notebooks, carefully sealed in plastic. The notebooks contained crude plans that appeared to outline biological sabotage operations. Escobar had long shown a fascination with using exotic animals strategically. He had used them to intimidate rivals and, according to reports, even to smuggle contraband. Yet the notebooks hinted at a far darker interest: weaponizing biological agents through contaminated livestock or controlled disease spread across rival territories. There is no evidence the plans were ever carried out, but the intent itself was unmistakable and terrifying. Investigators also found repeated references to a private veterinarian associated with the cartel who disappeared in the early 1990s. One entry described testing resistance on small mammals, accompanied by diagrams of enclosures matching the cages in the vault. While most of the materials had decayed beyond usability, the arrangement resembled a rudimentary but deliberate attempt at biological experimentation. The setup was dangerous, illegal, and capable of causing enormous harm if fully developed. Among the final pages was a chilling line, allegedly written in Escobar's own hand: "If they want war, we will feed the war." Eyewitnesses recalled him saying similar words during the height of the Medellin conflict, a statement that now seemed to connect his violent ambition directly to these hidden plans. According to sources close to the situation, authorities sealed the vault and restricted all public access. The surrounding area has been quietly fenced, and no official statement has been released. Rumors within Colombia's law enforcement community suggest that some of the materials were removed for federal analysis. Whether the discovery poses any biological risk today remains classified, but the potential is enough to unsettle even veteran investigators. Make sure to click the cards on the screen now for more interesting videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.